On today's episode of Notable New England, I'll be sharing some Wicked Light Bites, community-oriented stories and happenings from each New England state. Then, if you've lived in Boston for a long time, or if you are visiting the city but want some ideas on more off-the-beaten-path activities to discover, I've got you covered. We'll explore some lesser-talked-about gems the city has to offer. It's going to be a fun episode, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to this edition of Notable New England, everyone. I'm your host, Gretchen B., and I'm a lifelong proud New Englander. I hope everyone is doing well. Can you believe it is the end of May and some of us are still turning the heat on? That's New England for you, ever unpredictable. We had a ton of rain here in Massachusetts this past week, and I will admit it, I gave in and I turned the heat back on because it got pretty chilly. But from what I'm seeing, some warmer, sunnier weather is on the horizon. Fingers crossed that this is the last time we need to turn on the heat this season. Now, as I'm recording and releasing this episode, it is Memorial Day weekend, and I want to take a moment to honor the meaning behind the holiday and remember the fallen heroes who gave everything in service to our country. Let's carry that spirit of gratitude with us today and hold space for the families, friends, and communities who continue to carry their memories forward every single day. One of my favorite personal traditions is visiting the Memorial Day Flag Garden at the Boston Common. I'm going to be going this weekend. And if you've never been, it's a really deeply moving tribute to every service member from Massachusetts who has died in battle since the Revolutionary War. There's thousands of flags, each one representing a life remembered. Across New England, there are so many meaningful Memorial Day events, from parades to ceremonies and quiet moments of reflection. If you have the chance, strongly consider attending one. Even if you're firing up the grill later, maybe pause beforehand to say thank you or take a moment of silence to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to explore some of the off-the-beaten-path activities that you can discover in Boston, whether you're a local or you're visiting, but want to check out some of the lesser touristy spots. But before we do that, let's get into some Wicked Light Bites, which are light, community-oriented stories and happenings from each New England state. A local newspaper in Mid-Coast, Maine is bringing community together in a unique and interesting way by opening a cafe. The Mid-Coast Villager newspaper provides news primarily for Knox and Waldo counties, and they have opened the Villager Cafe in Camden, Maine. It's a place locals can grab a coffee, some breakfast or lunch, and connect with the Mid-Coast Villager staff of reporters, editors, and the publishers of the paper. Aaron Britt, who is the publisher of the Mid-Coast Villager, says the space was created for neighbors to have healthy discussions of topics, to have a better understanding of our communities, a better connection to each other, and to hold government to account. In these times where differences may be the headline, healthy discussion of important topics keeps communities thriving, he believes. He says, quote, "That's really the dream, is to bring into community, to have conversations that we lost the habit of having in a sort of civil and respectful and reasonable way." He continues, "When you are together, face to face with your neighbors who may have different lawn signs than you realize you're confronted. You cannot escape the fact that you have so much in common." If you want to visit the cafe, check out their website, villagercafe.com, for more information. The Villager Cafe in Camden is currently open Wednesdays through Sundays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., Information for this story comes from the WABI news desk. Local gardener Kelly Wakefield of St. Albans, Vermont, discovered some interesting treasures while helping to clean up Taylor Park. Kelly had been reading a book called Lady Liberty's Treasure Hunt, which provides clues about real treasure chests hidden throughout the Northeast. So while she was cleaning up the park, she happened to come across a rock with a skull and crossbones on it. It also had a code matching the book she'd been reading, so she started digging. And under a shrub, she found a stash of valuable silver and gold coins, as well as antiques and collectibles, including a Civil War-era bullet. The author of Lady Liberty's Treasure Hunt, Michael Clarity O'Connell, said there are other treasure chests in New England still waiting to be discovered. He says that even if people don't find treasures, he hopes his book will inspire people to take road trips together, rediscover the outdoors, and learn about America's past. The mayor of St. Albans, Tim Smith, says he hopes that the added attention on the community from the finding of these treasures will inspire families to visit the area this summer and support the local businesses. He says, quote, "People can come, enjoy themselves, and have it be like downtown New England for sure. This is small, but we hope the repercussions are huge for us, that people will want to come and visit." Kelly Wakefield says she has the treasures saved in a safe deposit box and, quote, "I probably should get an appraisal. Maybe it's a little bit of retirement funds. I'm not going to spend it on anything really big because I'm going to keep working." She says discovering the treasure was a fun thing and inspired her to keep exploring the Northeast and its history. This story comes from Jack Thurston of NBC5. Here's a story from Sarah Bodden at WPRI 12 in Rhode Island. It looks like the historic Warwick Neck Lighthouse is going to be on the auction block. The lighthouse was recently listed online by the General Services Administration. The lighthouse was built in 1827 and stands 51 feet tall. It's capped with a cast iron lantern that houses a modern beacon. Now, the 1.3-acre property also includes a single-family residence that has 3 bedrooms, a basement, a detached garage, and a storage shed. The listing states that the lighthouse is still among the state's active aids to navigation, and it was automated in 1985. There is no further information as of yet about when the auction will be happening. The Beardsley Zoo in Bridgeport, Connecticut has a new arrival, an 11-month-old female red panda named Panya. She came from the Detroit Zoo as part of a collective effort to ensure the long-term survival of red pandas through carefully managed breeding programs, the Beardsley Zoo says. A young male red panda will soon be joining Panya in the Nat family red panda habitat at the Beardsley Zoo. Thank you to NBC Connecticut for this information. Members of the Laconia Friendship Club in Laconia, New Hampshire celebrated 70 years of friendship at the group's 70th anniversary party at Laconia Country Club on May 21st. The Friendship Club offers seniors in the community a place to socialize and gather with community. Members enjoyed a delicious lunch and cake, and the Friendship Club was founded in April of 1955 as the Laconia Senior Club. In the 1980s, they did change their name to distinguish it from city and state sponsored programs. The Friendship Club donates to various community organizations like St. Vincent de Paul's Food Bank, the Belknap County Nursing Home, Rubens Ranch, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, Isaiah 61, Belknap House, and Meals on Wheels. Thank you to Daniel Sarch of the Laconia Daily Sun for this information. A Massachusetts butterfly garden was recently voted one of the top 10 in the country by USA Today's 10 Best. Magic Wings Butterfly Conservatory in South Deerfield, Mass. was number 8 on the list, and it's the only one named from New England. 10 Best said this about Magic Wings Butterfly Conservatory. Quote, in this 8,000 square foot New England Butterfly Conservatory, over 4,000 butterflies from as far away as Southeast Asia and South America fly throughout exotic blooms. The conservatory also hosts a small waterfall and colorful Japanese koi fish. Magic Wings explains the evolution of butterflies as well as other fun facts, and they are a home to a variety of voodoo lilies. If you want to plan a visit, they are located at 281 Greenfield Road, South Deerfield, Massachusetts. This report comes from Taylor Sanzo at Mass Live. Up after the break, we'll be discovering some of the lesser talked about gems in Boston that are worth a visit, whether you're a local being a tourist for the day in your own city, or if you're visiting but want to take the lesser traveled route. You are listening to Notable New England. If you've been enjoying the stories, the history, and the people of New England that I've been covering here on Notable New England, I've got a great way for you to be a part of keeping this going, and you get a few fun perks along the way. Head over to patreon.com/Notable New England to support the podcast if you are able. We've got a few different tiers, starting as low as $2 per month. So you can choose a tier that works best for you. Every tier gets you early access to new episodes, ad-free listening, and even some cool Notable New England merch. But more than the perks, becoming a sustaining member helps me keep doing what I do. It helps with research, production costs, fees, and other unglamorous but necessary stuff that helps make this show run smoothly. Again, you can visit us at patreon.com/Notable New England and become a sustaining member. And hey, if a monthly membership just is not your thing, you can also support the podcast with a one-time donation at buymeacoffee.com/Notable New England. It's quick, easy, and you'll even get a shout out on the show as a thank you. So again, for a one-time donation, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Notable New England. At the end of the day, this podcast is built around the community of curious, thoughtful, history-loving folks like you. So thank you. Whether you support the podcast financially, whether you share the podcast with a friend or family member, leave a 5-star review wherever you listen, or you just simply listen to each episode, it all helps. So thank you for your support and encouragement. Now, back to the show. We all know the iconic stops when exploring Boston: the Freedom Trail, the Swan Boats, the Museum of Fine Arts, the Museum of Science, the New England Aquarium, Fenway Park, the North End. I could go on. But I thought that today I could give you some ideas for some more off-the-beaten-path things to do if you want to rediscover the city as a local, or if you are coming to visit and you want to explore some hidden gems. I'm often asked by visitors about unique places to visit, so this list is just some of the places that I recommend. I'll take you to some of Boston's lesser talked about, but truly remarkable places. These are the spots that locals quietly love and visitors often overlook. Learn about places that might just become your new favorite corners of the city. And I'd love to hear from other locals, too, about their favorite things to do in Boston that are not often talked about activities. Head over to patreon.com/Notable New England and chime in the community chats area with your hidden gems that you think people should enjoy while visiting Boston. One of the most impressive things to see is the Mapparium inside the Christian Science Publishing Society. This 3-story tall, 30-foot wide globe made of bronze and 608 stained glass panels was designed by Boston architect Chester Lindsay Churchill. It showcases a map of the world from 1935. The Mapparium opened to the public in 1935 and attracted more than 50,000 visitors in the first 4 months. And it remains a time capsule of how the world looked in 1935. Though originally, when it was designed so that it could be updated as borders shifted, but it remains the 1935 map. You will be awed by the beautiful colors and light, and there is a whispering gallery where you can whisper something on one side of the globe and it can be heard on the other side. It's really cool to be able to get an inside view of the world looking out. The Mapparium is located at 210 Mass Ave in Boston. Tickets for adults are $6, and they are timed tickets. Kids up to age 17 get in for free, and I'm going to put a link to their website in the show notes so you can check that out. Get a different perspective of Boston by kayaking or canoeing along the Charles River. Paddle Boston has 7 locations in Boston and surrounding areas where you can rent a kayak, stand-up paddleboard, or canoe, and you can cruise along the Charles River. The 2 locations that'll get you closest to the best views and get you there quicker would be the Alston-Brighton location and the Kendall Square Dock in Cambridge. You'll be asked to sign a safety waiver, and then they send you off. It's a relaxing way to view the city, and along the way, you're likely to see wildlife. You're often going to see swans, blue herons, turtles, and much more, as well as other boaters and rowers who are enjoying the river. If you happen to be around on the 4th of July, they do offer rentals to view the Boston fireworks from your kayak or canoe or paddleboard. It offers a spectacular way to enjoy the fireworks in a way you might never do on your own. You can visit paddleboston.com for information on all of their locations, their rates, and policies. Paddle Boston offers seasonal memberships too for those of you who live in the city and want to go more often, and you can get a nice break on the rates. Boston Athenaeum is one of the most beautiful places in Boston. It's one of my personal favorites. It's a landmark 12-story building in Beacon Hill, and it's a combination library, cultural center, and museum. The Athenaeum is one of our country's oldest and most distinguished independent libraries with a circulation of over 500,000 books. They also have a special collection of 100,000 rare books, maps, manuscripts, and 100,000 works of art, from paintings to sculptures to prints and photographs. They also host author talks, book clubs, concerts, and social gatherings. There are 5 floors of books and reading nooks that overlook the Granary Burying Ground. It's really cool. And there's a museum area on the first floor that offers a rotation of exhibits throughout the year. And there is a restaurant on site now called Folio, where you can visit and indulge in delicious food and drink during your visit. The Athenaeum is located at 10.5 Beacon Street. You won't miss the big red doors. If you want to get admission to the first floor, the cost is $10 for visitors 14 and up. There are discounts for children younger than 14, seniors, military, and educators. You can take one of the 1-hour docent tours if you wish. And if you want to access the entire building, you can get a day pass for $40, or they offer yearly memberships if you plan to come more often. Did you know that one of the last remaining World War II Victory Gardens in the United States is still growing in the Fenway in Boston? It was established in 1942 and was part of a nationwide movement encouraged by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to promote self-sufficiency during wartime. Over 20 million victory gardens were created across the country, and they provided more than 40% of the fresh produce consumed in the U.S. during the war. After World War II, many victory gardens were dismantled, but in 1944, Richard D. Parker formed the Fenway Garden Society, Incorporated, advocating to keep the gardens intact. Throughout the years, the Fenway Garden Society, Incorporated fought against development projects, and today, the Fenway Victory Gardens remain as 7.5 acres within the Emerald Necklace and is now home to over 500 garden plots. The Fenway Garden Society offers educational workshops, volunteer opportunities, and special garden spaces, including the teaching garden, bee apiary and pollinator garden, the accessible garden, and a medicinal herb garden. To get to the Fenway Victory Gardens to check them out, you can go to 1200 Boylston Street in Boston. There's no parking inside the garden, but there is limited on-street parking, and of course you can take the T there. For more information and a garden map, visit fenwayvictorygardens.org. The gardens are open dawn to dusk, and there is no admission cost. Learn about the history of Boston's Black community by walking along the Black Heritage Trail. You'll learn the history of Boston's Black community in the 1800s, the Underground Railroad, the abolition movement, and the early struggles for civil rights. The trail is approximately 1.5 miles long, and it links sites that explore the trials of the free Black community, which inhabited the north slope of Beacon Hill from the 1700s through the 1800s. You can take a self-guided tour anytime, or they do have ranger-guided tours in the summer and in the fall. Make sure to visit the Museum of African American History, too, which is located at 46 Joy Street in Boston. It's located in the former Abiel Smith School and African Meeting House, and I'll put the website information in the show notes so you can explore more information, get a map of the trail, hours of operation, and more before you plan your visit. Take the ferry from Long Wharf and explore the Boston Harbor Islands. The ferry will take you to Spectacle Island, George's Island, or Pettix Island, and there is limited public access to Thompson Island, or what is now known as Kathleen Stone Island, in the summertime. The ferries run May through October, and Spectacle Island offers 5 miles of hiking trails, and there are swimming areas. Pettix Island offers tent campsites and yurts. You can explore Fort Warren on George's Island, which was once a prison for Confederate soldiers. There are visitor centers on each island as well, and they do offer some lighthouse cruises as well. You can visit bostonharborislands.org for more information on ferry schedules and other activities. The Boston Public Library offers a lot of amazing resources and beautiful art and architecture. But did you know that you can have a lovely afternoon tea service there in the Courtyard Cafe or the Mapparium Lounge? The Courtyard Cafe, with its high ceilings and large windows that let in a lot of light, overlooks the library's stunning courtyard area. They offer a pre-fee menu of finely crafted soups, tea sandwiches, scones, and sweets to accompany the various teas that they offer. There are also craft cocktails offered, and the atmosphere is simply beautiful with fine china on white tablecloths, vintage wallpapering, beautiful art, and displays of books. Vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options are available upon request. The tea room is open Wednesday through Sunday, and you will need to make a reservation in advance. It's a very popular place, and it does fill up very quickly. For a more casual experience, you can visit the Mapparium Lounge, which is the country's first tea-infused cocktail lounge. You can grab a literary-inspired cocktail and some delectable bites Wednesdays through Saturdays at the bar. They also do offer an afternoon tea service Wednesdays through Saturdays. It's a great, homey, and cozy atmosphere to drop by for an after-work drink or a spot of tea and treats. You can access the Courtyard Cafe and the Mapparium Lounge from the McKim building of the Boston Public Library on Dartmouth Street. See the world's only museum dedicated to the collection, exhibition, and celebration of art that would not be welcomed into any traditional art museum. The Museum of Bad Art is housed at the Dorchester Brewing Company and showcases art where something has gone wrong but results in interesting viewing anyway. The museum does traveling shows, special events, and they have changing exhibits that share the best in bad art. And you can grab a beer and some barbecue while you're there. The Museum of Bad Art is located at Dorchester Brewing Company at 1250 Mass Ave in Boston. The website is museumofbadart.org, and that's where you can get some more information. Now, these next two places that I'm going to mention are not in Boston, but they are in the surrounding communities of Brookline, Massachusetts, and Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they are accessible by bus, or you can just hop in an Uber or Lyft and get yourself over to these two places. So if you're a big fan of old classic cars, you're not going to want to miss visiting this museum in Brookline, Massachusetts. The museum is located at Lars Anderson Park and showcases America's oldest car collection in the carriage house. In addition to the beautiful cars, the museum offers many lawn events, gatherings, and car history lectures. For instance, some of the events that are coming up include Corvette Day, British Car Day, there's a Cars and Coffee series, and so much more. The museum is located at 15 Newton Street in Brookline, Mass., and you can get more information at larsanderson.org, and that's spelled L-A-R-Z, Anderson, ANDERSON.org. Right on the border of Cambridge and Watertown, Mount Auburn Cemetery offers a surprising kind of escape. Now, you may think it's strange that I'm recommending a cemetery as a place to visit, but this one is worth it. In fact, it is my absolute favorite place. And I often go, and it offers so much calm amidst chaos. So back in 1831, Boston was running out of space for burials, and the city's graveyards were not so pleasant places to visit. So a group of locals decided they were going to rethink things, and they created Mount Auburn as both a practical solution and a beautiful reflective space, somewhere you'd actually want to walk, sit, or even bring a book to read. It was modeled after the English garden cemetery idea, and it kicked off what became known as the rural cemetery movement in America. It also inspired the urban parks movement, and in fact, Mount Auburn was a design inspiration for Central Park in New York City. What makes Mount Auburn special even now is how it blends nature, art, and remembering the dead. There are beautiful winding paths leading past ponds, sculptures, and gravestones that are more works of art than markers, beautiful trees and plants and flowers. It was the first cemetery in the U.S. to be designed like this, and the idea was to comfort the living as much as to honor the dead. By the mid-1800s, it had become one of the most visited spots in the country, at one point second only to Niagara Falls. In more recent years, it's been recognized as a National Historic Landmark and one of the most important design landscapes in the country. In fact, it was recently featured in the PBS documentary World's Greatest Cemeteries. The cemetery is also the final resting place of some notable names such as poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, cookbook pioneer Fanny Farmer, reformer Dorothea Dix, art collector Isabella Stewart Gardner, and many more. If you're into history, check out the headstones because you will learn some pretty interesting information. But Mount Auburn isn't just about the past. Today, it is also a gathering place for nature lovers and for neighbors. You can climb Washington Tower for some of the best views of Boston, especially in the fall. It is just spectacular. Bring your binoculars if you're into birds. It is a top bird watching spot, especially during the spring and fall migrations. They have a big chalkboard at the front gate that lists birds that people have seen that particular day. Throughout the year, the cemetery hosts events that tie into the seasons like solstice celebrations, nature walks, and lectures. They have even been known to do a spooky cemetery movie series. And it's open every day, free to the public, so you can come just to wander, to reflect, or to sit on a bench by one of the ponds. And one of my favorite things to do is watch the turtles sunbathe or swim and, sit there and maybe journal or read a book. Mount Auburn Cemetery is located at 580 Mount Auburn Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Notable New England. I hope that this episode gave you some ideas on some fun activities to do in Boston that aren't the same old things you often hear about. And if you're a local, maybe it'll inspire you to explore some lesser-known treasures in your own backyard. And as I say, if you are a local and you have your own ideas of some hidden gems that you would love other people to know about, please head over to patreon.com/notablenewengland and go into the community chats and drop your recommendations so that other people can discover these great places to go. I'll be back on Sunday, June 8th with a new episode, so I hope you'll tune in. Until next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and get out into your community and connect with others. We are stronger together than we are apart. See you on June 8th.